I want you to know that what I'm about to talk about is highly speculative, okay? I don't want y'all to come into this video expecting to get facts. This is all feelings, no facts, a lot of speculation. But Toyota is building some very special GR Corolla, and I think it's a GRMN one. Let's get into that. So back in like 2022, Toyota made a version of the GR Yaris called the GRMN version, right? They had the other versions already out there. Now, the main thing is that version had some very special things on it. And the GRMN stood for Gazoo Racing Meister of the Nurburgring, meaning it was made specifically for track. Now, we are in the US, so we have a GR Corolla. We never got the GR Yaris, unfortunately. So for our models, we have mine right here. This is a core model. I got a couple little accoutrements on it, making it look a little spicy. We have a circuit edition, which had the forged carbon roof, had the circuit wing that you can't see in the image, but I have it on my car. It had different interior, a little bit of soft touch, Fox leather, suede inserts, red stitching. They made a blue version of it as well that had blue stitching and things like that. So the circuit edition, and then they had the Morizo edition. So the Morizo edition, as you already know, if you've seen videos on the GR Corolla, the Morizo edition was a special one made for the track. So it had different gear ratios. It had no back seat. It didn't have power rear windows. It had different front seats in suede. It had a different steering wheel covered in suede. It had different torque numbers in the regular GR Corolla up to 295. Now, that one was very limited. Number to like, I forgot the number, maybe 160. If I'm wrong, I'll put the right number up here. But that was a special track focused one that Mr. Morizo himself built in order to have the most capable GR Corolla on the track. So you have the special edition GRMN version. I told you about the seats. The seats inside of them, and I don't know if you can see inside my car, but in the regular GR Corolla, we have standard buckets. Like I told you on the circuit edition, you have different seats. On the GRMN version, on the GR Yaris, they took out the same seats that look similar to ours and put in these Recaro buckets. Now, everybody in the US who has a GR Corolla, we've seen these seats and we want them. Now, obviously, they're not gonna sell it to us. We don't even know if they could even fit us. Okay, let's be honest here. The demographic that they made them seats for, I'm gonna need like a 36, 38 waist size to make it comfortable for me on the daily drive, right? So different Recaro seats. What though does that mean for the GR Corolla option? And what is Toyota doing with one on the Nurburgring? On that video, and I'm gonna put it up here, you're gonna see a video floating up here. That's from a YouTube channel called Car Spy Media. And they have an Instagram channel from the same name. If you go there, they have, I don't know who they got working for them, but they're always on Nurburgring catching whatever camouflage thing is sitting in the distance, and they capture all of it. So in this video, you see this car moving around, you want to notice a couple things that I've seen on this, right? We got a bigger wing, right? A proper wing. I got the circuit edition on my car, but that's a proper big wing. We got camouflage on the front end. So we got different fenders. The fenders have more vents on them. The hood has a different vent. This isn't a circuit hood, but the circuit hood with the bulge, that one that's camouflage has another vent that you can see here. And on the GR Yaris GRMN version, it was also like 10 to 20 millimeters wider than the regular GR Yaris. So I'm thinking that those fenders here, and maybe, not maybe touched in the rear, these are a little bit wider to kind of match the rear fenders that we have. So we have this camouflage front. You already know that the front bumper is gonna look like the 2025 model that I've shown before, and you see it here. And you also notice that the whole entire car, the wheels are wider, and you can hear something distinct. Now, I'm gonna try to play some audio, and if it's playing, you're gonna hear this car driving on Nurburgring. I don't hear any distinct shifts. And that might be a nerve-wracking thing to some people, because I suspect that this is running a modified version of the DAT transmission, or let's just hope they have a manual version. I mean, please, don't give a GRMN version, no manual for us in the US. But let's just remember what they think about when it comes to these bespoke motorsport type of cars. They build them for track times. And if the DAT transmission, even though it's an auto, is putting up the fastest times, guess what they're gonna do? They're like, we're here for lap times. not necessarily about you engaging with the car and having more fun shifting. We want lap times. I think that the version that they have on the Nurburgring also has more horsepower. I think that they could potentially build us a version that has like 330 horsepower and like 310 foot-pounds of torque, because the regular GRMN for the GR Yaris had increased torque. Now, we also already have more horsepower than the GR Yaris, because when ours came out here, it had 300 horsepower. And I know we have a Morizo edition that already had 295 foot-pounds of torque. And I know that the 2025 GR Corolla coming out, and if you haven't seen that video, it's floating up here. I know that that version also has the increased torque. So I'm thinking that if we're gonna get an even more special edition version, that I think Toyota's gonna maybe give us like 330 horsepower extra and like 310 foot-pounds of torque. But are they gonna address some of the issues when it comes to this being on the track? So what do I gotta say? I think that Toyota is making this GRMN version for our market. I'm gonna throw it right here on the screen. This is coming to the US, I believe. Now, I don't have any true facts. I'm just stating what makes the most sense. Look at this car. Now look at our market. What else would they be doing something like this? And Toyota, even though they might call this a prototype, that's a stock production car, basically. You've already seen the 2025 model. If you go to the Plano headquarters here in Texas, there's a 2025 GR Corolla sitting in the lobby. So even though it might say prototype on the window, it is still as production as you can possibly get. Maybe a few things get tweaked. But I think that we're about to get an even more special version of the GR Corolla, something beyond just a Morizo. And I'm excited for it. Now, if it just has an automatic, it's gonna be sad because I would rather have a manual, but I'm just excited to see them continuing to build on this car. And if it has something like 330 horsepower, a little bit more, 310 foot-pounds of torque, and if it addresses something specific for these track times, and that is the diff in the transfer case. Now, if you are new to the GR Corolla, if you haven't raced it or been on the track, you know that the transfer case and the diff and the ECU and the computer all communicate in a way to tell that the rear diff is overheating, when it really isn't from the standards of measuring it at its point. But what it does is it throws it into like a limp two-wheel drive mode. And there's a few companies like 555 Engineering has a solution for that, right? It involves the Cyvex all-wheel drive controller, but they have another transfer case cooler, diff cooler, that goes into these side vents here on this car. They have an oil cooler one too, and it doesn't put it in limp mode. It keeps everything very cool, higher capacity of oil cooler running. So if they're making a version that's on Nurburgring, then you know for a fact that they've been running around that track. And if they've had it all stock components that I have in mind, and that maybe the 2025 one has, or a circuit edition or a Morizo, then they've ran into that mode where it says, hey, the diff is overheated, I'm going into two-wheel drive mode. And so to combat that, because they are aiming at a full track option, I think that this one is gonna now have a rear diff cooler or something redesigned to address it. I think they're also gonna put in the same on the 2025 one has an additional like transmission cooler. I think we're gonna get an oil cooler somewhere in the car. I think we're gonna get a diff cooler somewhere in the car. I think we're gonna get something that addresses that part of it so that that car can run constantly on a track. I also think that we might get, if it's a manual, we might get updated gear ratios. We might get a different gear set in the car. I'm excited to see what they build. Now, this is all speculative, right? They might come out and say, hey, we're not doing none of that. All we're gonna do is give you the fenders, a front lip, and a wing, and some stickier tires, and we'll take out the back seats and have fun. And I'll still have fun with that. But I do think that we are on our way to get a very special GR Corolla, something that may be truly numbered like the Morizo edition, and I'm excited. I'm glad to see it. This is just my speculative video. Listen, check out my video about the 2025 GR Corolla, if I was gonna, trade it in or not. And listen to the podcast. Some of this information I'm gonna have more on the pod. I just want to do a quick video because I was out driving, enjoying my car. Check out the video on the new intake. I mean, it sounds wonderful. I love it. I'm gonna do a review on that soon enough. And listen, if we get a GRMN version, I can't wait to see it. I wanna drive it. I wanna be invited to the press conference. You hear me, Toyota? I'm gonna see y'all around soon. Peace.